Okay, summing this up, or not summing this up. Why did I just do that? Summing it up in the word, why not? Summing it up in one word that I have to repeat this, or not repeat, but make another into a video that is already a clusterfuck. Part three, the first part doesn't really even exist. It's just me forgetting what I was going to say. But part three, summed up in one word, fuck. Moving forward, some other shit that I believe, because obviously I can't just end it there. I support the Black Lives Matter movement, and as I said before, I can be a contrarian, maybe too much of one, and it's hard for people to really get some kind of basic, I guess, grasp of what I even fucking believe, or what direction I'm going in, or whose side I'm even on. But I am basically left wing, certainly left leaning, but I would say left wing. And one thing I support, for example, and one of the few things I would even say maybe I have turned my brain off a little bit on, is the Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matters movement, simply because there is no denying those people were being choked to death. They were being killed. That man was choked to death. This happened a number of years ago. If you remember, a little while back, there was a really big dude. He was a black guy. He was choked to death. And again, to all the people that say this don't happen, to white people, if you're one of those people, this has happened. It happened to, in the past, or rather before, it has happened to a white person named Kelly Thomas. I've talked about. That was a person that was tased 16 times, tased to death. And all of these people, including all 6 of them, with no legal leg to stand on that I know of, police or no damn police, got away with it. So that was obviously murder. It's a count of murder, and you tell them don't do anything, don't say anything, be peaceful, and then nothing ever happens. And I'm not saying they should be people, but maybe you should try that, because I'm seeing a lot of these yeehaw inbred asshole rednecks, and whatever fucking problem they have, hauling ass into towns where they're not even a part of, in some cases, to restore law and order, and they're shooting people, and they're taking their guns. They said in Alex Jones' sociopathic ass that was scamming us all that time and never gave a fuck about Bush or 9/11 or what happened, and is just a scam artist. But they said we're keeping those guns to defend against over-intrusive government. Like I said before, government that was out of bounds, like Hitler, or like Jon Stewart once famously said, you're defending against the rise of zombie Hitler. But then these people want to protest government over-intrusion into individual lives and killing people, literally the murder of people. Because we're not talking about Rodney King anymore. We're not talking about the fate of so many people for so long that we know so much about, where the cop just kicks the shit out of you, it's okay because he has a badge. Or like that song, there was a song they made, even when they're wrong, they're right. No, we're talking about literally killing them and choking them to death in broad daylight, and it's on videotape, and then nothing happens to them. Or like that one protest, I guess in Portland or wherever it was, I guess it was Portland, but I guess it was Portland, where they shoved a old white man down to the ground. I think he was a veteran or something, and I forget how old he was. And the damn other police went on strike, not in solidarity with the person that was shoved down by the cop, but in solidarity with the cop, because there was questioning and some level of punishment, and I think he was put on suspension because he shoved an old man down. So on that level, I'm very far left-wing, pro Black Lives Matter, almost what you would name or label communist or communistic Marxist, almost far left, if that's what you want to label this. And you should look up Marx sometimes. Because a lot of what Marx said was right, and Lenin is a very interesting guy to look up. Not because I agree with everything they believe or I want communism. Hell no. I mean, I want more social freedom, and I do think free market is the best possible system ultimately if it's regulated and you have the proper regulations in place. And I think that's a good thing, and I do believe in free market economy, that these are basic human instincts, and you can't just always provide for people what they need, and ultimately other people, rich people, will get into charge of that, and they will use that, as Stalin did, for example, to exploit people's interests and You will have a slave system because you're basically exploiting people's natural human interests to have more, even maybe if they have too much. People will always want more, but you have to regulate that, and you have to have some basic argument you should pay more taxes. And I think less people, decent people, real patriots, because you all claim to be patriots, if they thought their payments were going to things like government-funded vacation, even for adults, not just children, because you think like children have summer vacation, and your stupid government, your supposedly free market government, was even trying to get rid of that at one point. But paying for vacation or paid leave for both children and adults, or that is to say school students as well as workers, at least some vacation for workers as well as paid maternity leave for women, paid, I think, paternal leave for men too, at least a little bit of time off to be with their family and their kid, because it is their kid, to bond with the kid and the wife during this time period. Paid to raise universal basic income for basic infrastructure, to build your stupid fucking wall if you wanted that much, and whatever else, then I think more people would be okay with paying a little bit more money if it went to shit like that, and they would see it as their natural patriotic duty, and even I would, provided whatever I paid, because I'm pretty much broke. But sure, versus what you're doing, and that is you're paying for drone strikes of civilians in other countries, bombing raids of people in countries like Iraq, such as Iraq, for example, where the civilian death rate was through the roof, astronomical, and 67% of the children or the people that were killed in Iraq recently were children. 67% of them. So the absolute abuse of your citizens, your fellow citizens, black, white, and everything else. Particularly black people who were choked to death, cops choking people to death in broad daylight, and other dumb shit, and baby dick mutilation, every other dumb, stupid thing you people do, and you're paying for that. No, I don't want to pay taxes for that. I would rather keep my damn money. I don't blame anyone else. But if you paid it to help poor people and to help the sick and to help the homeless and to help, maybe instead of bombing countries, maybe we could help get food to them in some cases, if possible, and we can afford it. Yeah, we would pay for that, not what you're doing. So that's my example of the left wing. And if you're thinking, hey, we're going to go with the orange guy who may have had a stroke or something, I'm not so sure he didn't, and that would explain a lot of what the guy is doing and some of what's wrong with him. And if that's the case, maybe that's because I'm not saying his first 3 years were good. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers too damn much, but it is fucking plausible, I think, at least in my opinion. Maybe he had a stroke because I think it happened like a year ago, and then you have, of course, the killing of the Iranian dude at the beginning of the year, their general, for seemingly no reason, out of nowhere, and supposedly even helped fight along with American troops against ISIL. At the same time, Obama was secretly funding them, but that's another subject. And I guess that was when Trump first came in and was kind of fighting them a little bit. But anyways, the point is, we killed him for no reason, and then he's all of a sudden he's pro crooked police, killing people, and he wants to put troops on the street. And how do you even know he runs the country anymore? Because I have said this before. I don't know if I said it here. He wanted to have John Kasich actually run his government, where he would bring him in. He would do all the speeches and the rallies like he had been doing, that he's quite good at, and then he would have Kasich actually run the government. How did you know he didn't do that with Pence from the beginning? But I don't think he did. I think he was running it. And whether you like him or not, I think what's happening now is he's just giving it over to the other people. And I think that's what happened because he had John Bolton in his government, not John Bolton. What is it, Michael Bolton? Which one's the Neil Kahn versus the singer? The decidingly more evil, but yet slightly less annoying one. That one. Anyways, he was basically in the government already, but I think what happened was he had him. He decided to kill that guy, and I think that's why he fired him, because he fired him, I think, not long after that. If I'm not mistaken, I might have my dates mixed up here, or it might have been before that, or something. I don't know, but from what I understand, he did. So that's possible. That's something he didn't like. Maybe he was sick when that was happening. And I'm not trying to defend Trump here. Again, I'm not saying he wasn't a shit president, but I do remember at least when Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, they even got him to free some people from prison, nonviolent drug offenders, that I think should be done across the board, because I would pretty much free all nonviolent drug offenders. Now you might say, well, that's a crazy utopian ideology, or even this lunatic. Maybe you think I'm some kind of communist. But at the end of the day, if they're not violent and they're not in there for violence and they didn't do anything violent, even if you don't agree with what they did, even if they technically broke a law, you know, largely a lot of these are poor fucking people and they're not going to fucking attack you or anything if they're not violent, or some might, but they're not because they did that. So why in the hell not let them out? What the hell good does it do to have them in there rather than the same free or at least very, very, very cheap labor for the fucking rich and the elite in the state that the libertarian Ron Paul type folk claim to be against to begin with anyways. And the Rand Paul people, even though Rand Paul sold out a significant amount, but he is still better than some of them about some things on that libertarian ring or end of the spectrum. But Ron Paul, believe me, is, I mean, you know, he is not pro-Trump like Rand Paul is, and that's another issue. And that's another reason why Alex Jones will not have Ron Paul, the actual guy, on there anymore. They might have his son, I don't know, but they won't have him because they know he's probably not going to be kissing Trump's ass, and that's all that Jones does anymore. But the point is, look, you Trump supporters, slobber on that Trump knob all you want. The bottom line is this. I'll admit myself to being a little bit stupid about the Black Lives Matter movement, and I have no doubt some of the people probably do hate fucking white people. But with that being said, what they're against is good. They're against police brutality and policemen choking people to death, and they want police reform and regulations against police and to protect people, black people, whoever, I don't care whoever. They want to help people. They're very nice. Look, man, see, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying about the thing about Alexandria Cortez, who I like a lot and respect a lot. She's mad at that one idiot for calling her a bitch, right? But see, like right now, you're calling me that. It's like, that's just how people are. I mean, it's not like the argument she made doesn't follow logic. Like right now, I could be like, see, by saying that about me, you're going to say that about everyone. Yeah, I'll take your comment. No, you didn't call me shit. You like, make your fucking porn or what? Let's make the porn, whatever porn you're making. Fucking waste my damn time. Listen, to the rest of you, then why are you attacking me? And I don't mean that in the social justice, I'm offended way. I'm just saying that's what you're doing. And by the way, if Trump was born in America, especially in the 1940s, I highly doubt he is, but you know. Well, yeah, except what the fuck is the point? And I don't even know why you are. At least give me some grounds to defend myself. Are you attacking me from the left or the right? Like, am I being a Republican asshole? Do you think I'm being a communist? Like, you're not even giving me any, like, how the hell am I supposed to even defend myself? Like, it's not fair what you're doing. It's not reasonable. Just be fucking reasonable. I don't know. I know. Yeah, you're right. But it's my life, and I've talked about that, and you are correct. It's a miserable life, but I'm still making porn, and I'm hoping someday someone will see my shit and agree with something I say. Okay, this video is getting to be retarded. Look, the bottom line is this. I don't understand Trump supporters or they're deciding to kind of cling to this ideal of Trump that maybe they had in 2016 that a lot of people bought, and I didn't really buy it, but I kind of went along with it. That ideal is dead. He's against defending yourself basically against police corruption. He's largely got into Syria. In some ways, he's worsened issues with Russia, though probably not as bad as Hillary would have or did. And he has helped things with Hillary. He has helped things with North Korea, but to some extent, he has made things worse with Iran. He's totally blew off the old deal we had with Iran. He killed their leader, and he's making a lot of issues worse. I don't necessarily disagree with him about China. That's a different issue. But there's just a number of things that I don't see how you can look at the facts and what he's doing, and you say you don't dislike or hate gay people, but then, you know, he cuts transgender medical care, medical aid, and he has basically kicked transgender people out of the military, more or less. And I don't understand how you can then defend Trump. Now, does that mean that in some cases I'm blind or I'm being a little bit blind and support Biden? Sure. And I'll even admit, I think Biden is a little bit more of a likable guy now. is to where I will say Trump was more likable than Hillary, but that's a different issue. But yeah, I hear about Biden. I know he had his son. He died with cancer, or actually his wife died from a car wreck when they were children, and then later on his son was diagnosed with cancer and died. That makes him look likable. He is 77 years old, and he is 77 years old. He ran like 3 different times, and somehow he might be president, and that seems almost impossible. He's a little bit more of a likable guy than I think. Just in general, I think Biden will win because I think he is just more sympathetic. But even if he wasn't, how could you look at the issues and then be like, yeah, Trump, what is he like? What is Trump doing right now that you think is helping you? And I'm not talking about what he said in 2016, and I'm not talking about what he said before 2016, and I'm not talking about what he did, like, let's say the first 3 years he was in office. Hell, I'm not even talking about what he's saying right now. That is mostly bad and right wing, but let's just say that he was talking about, I don't know, good things. He's not doing good things. He killed the Iranian general. We're in 3 different fucking wars. We're in basically one more war than what we already were. Not that we weren't getting in anyways. That's actually, that's the type of politics. It's yeah, I mean, I would say so. I've had other people disagree. Secular Talk disagreed. You sound kind of like you might be some form of anarchist, and anarchist is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's a real political group. There is like a real political group, anarchists. People forget that, and they attack some of the protesters now. They attack them as anarchists, but there are real anarchists, and I have disagreements, and a lot of times they end up arguing with them about stuff. But they are a real political group, and you sound like you might be one of them, or you might be some form of libertarian. I don't really know. But he has been, I think, less warlike than Obama or Bush. Certainly Bush, no doubt about that. And there are still things about 9/11 and other stuff that we don't know about Bush, and the stuff they haven't. I think it was Benghazi and some of the camps he ran that we don't know about, that no one talks about. So I would think that should be looked into. And there's a lot of stuff about Bush and Obama. The Fast and Furious thing that they ran that put drugs into drug cartels' hands, and there was a bunch of shit that happened. But the point is, I don't see how people can be against Black Lives Matter, like, more than anything. Hell, even if you're a fucking far-right Nazi or some shit, I still don't know why you would be against Black Lives Matter, because this isn't even about that. They're right. Their basic argument is right. That's the point. They're right about what they're saying. The cops shouldn't have this total ability to just do what they want, and then you condemn them and they get away with it. And that's my opinion. So I support Black Lives Matter. Maybe not everyone in it, and I'm sure they have a lot of controversial and probably negative views, especially about white people, but I'm not looking at that. I'm trying to look past that. Well, some do. I don't support that, but I also think that it's not smart to show up with guns, and because they're coming in from like 200 truck cartel or whatever, not cartel, but caravan of Trump supporters went to, I think, Portland or wherever it was with guns, and then 2 of the Trump supporters got shot. I mean, that's just stupid. And I don't want National Guard on the streets, because if you put National Guard on the streets, especially knowing how Trump is these days, you may never get them off your streets. And I don't think we need National Guard. That's the literal type of police state Alex Jones used to warn about. And if you put National Guard, you'll have a police state. That's the literal definition of martial law. So you would think Alex Jones would be against that, but he and everyone else has totally sold out. And then when you talk about it, like, they're just like the Democrats used to be. That used to make me mad at the Democrats, because the Democrats would say you're a Nazi if you disagreed with them, and now the Republicans say you're a communist. The solution is listen to their demands and do what they want as far as regulating the police, put cameras on police cars, outlaw chokeholds. Yeah. I mean, the Republicans are acting like the snowflakes and the social justice warriors, in my opinion. But anyways, I appreciate your comments. I gotta go because I don't have enough time, but I don't want this to run out. So P666.